Well. Good morning, Service Alliance community. How y'all doing today? Happy Monday.
Jeremy did that right with your brother.
Just kidding. Just kidding. It's not Monday. I'm a guest on the show today. What's up, Mike?
No, you're the actual host with the most. It even says so.
Oh, come on now. Brother Dan. I talked to him last night. We had a good conversation. And Adam.
Good seeing you.
Good to see you. Yeah.
Dan.
Good to have you guys with us. You guys get the Chicago treatment today. We're talking mindset, Chicago style.
Yeah, I mean, Zach had to come on, do a little on the job training with me, and show me how it's done. Jason wasn't here to support me today, so I got to have a mentor and a teacher. I feel like the little kid in the school desk sitting in the corner. Gotta do some extra learning in detention or something.
You're just missing the dunce hat, buddy.
Missing the dunce hat. I don't know. Is that a mindset thing?
It might be a
problem. A problem with my mindset.
We might have to address that on today's morning grind. We just might. Yeah. So again, Doug and I introduced yesterday. The theme is health this week, and mindset is it's a really big piece of your health. So Mike, before we really get into it, you and I both have had a lot of work over the years to improve our mindsets. And so did you find like other changes when you began to change your mindset? Like, did things start to click as you began to shift your mindset?
I found and realized a lot of other challenges. Yeah, it was more exposing other challenges in my life when I started changing my mindset. So it was eye-opening for sure, because it was like you can't flip a switch when it comes to mindset changes. If my wife was the biggest proponent with mindset. She would sit across from me at the table. We'd be eating dinner and she'd be like, damn it, I just can't stand your mindset, and she'd tell me, she's like, it's all about your mindset. And she just beat that into me over and over and over. And then finally I'm like, fine, maybe I'll listen to you, dear. As all husbands do, we don't want to listen, especially to our wives, that they don't know better than we do.
No, not at all.
No,
No.
it's a pride thing. It
Yeah.
was a complete pride thing.
You
And
know,
I was a very
honestly,
prideful person.
knowing Kathy is one of the sweetest people out there, but she'll mess you up. She's like 5 foot nothing, and she'll mess you up.
Yeah.
She scares me about like my wife scares me. So
Yeah, like real timid, unassuming,
until you piss her
and then
off. Oh, funny. No, but I can see that. Like I can see because my wife does the same thing. Angie really has been one of the ones that has helped push the mindset in my life and kind of help drive me towards a better mindset. And then I've had coaches come alongside me and work with me. I was in a session the other day. Don't let this depress you. There is no destination. So you shared it. You're like, well, like you just start getting into mindset. Yep. And then you just keep going. It doesn't stop. There is no so like you start peeling that layer and you're never getting to the middle of that onion. There is no destination, and that's okay. That's a good thing. There's always work to be done, especially for us restless people.
Yeah.
Always need a new challenge. So
You know what? I actually have a perfect verse for this morning. If you want to open us up in prayer.
we're switching this up. I thought you were going to open us in prayer. All right.
Oh,
I got it.
you know verse.
I got the prayer. I got the prayer in the chat. I got it, buddy.
Okay.
Dear Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for this time to gather together. Father, we thank you for the work that you've done in each of our lives. We just, we're so grateful that we don't have to do this alone, that you bring others alongside of us to cheer us on, to encourage us, to hold us accountable. And we thank you for your spirit being with us and allowing a transforming of our minds, which allows a transformation through the rest of us. Father, we thank you and we praise you. Bless this conversation. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen, brother. All right. Our verse is Romans 12:2. Do not conform to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. I love that verse. I feel like we've talked on a similar topic before. Maybe I've used that verse before.
Oh, we probably have.
But
or we've probably just talked about it.
Yeah. But I mean, it's be transformed by the renewing of your mind. If that doesn't say mindset shift, what does?
Right. Well, and that is the wellspring, right? Like our minds end up directing everything else, that wiring within our brain. The good news is, much like a washing machine, you can rewire your brain. It just takes some work. Pretty cool. So, Mike is usually the one, because he's a little further along than me, and I'm not calling him old. I'm just saying he's a little further along than me. This isn't Doug and Rob.
I like to call it seasoned.
He's a little seasoned.
Seasoned.
So Mike's a little more seasoned than I am. So he's usually the one challenging me and pushing me in mindset. And we had a unique situation the other day where I flipped his words around on him. How'd that feel, buddy? How'd that feel?
Oh, it felt like crap. So I'm on the phone with Zach and I'm just going off. I'm kind of like, I'm frustrated. I'm venting. And This guy right here uses my own words against me that I say to him all the time when he's the same way. And he turned it around on me, and I didn't like it.
Just
And I
calmly,
fought it.
just gently, I'm like, hey, Mike.
Yeah. It was pretty classic. And I'm like, stop using my words against me. Stop it. Stop it. I
I
don't
hate
like
when
it.
I hate when you use logic against me.
This is supposed to be a one-way thing. Flows out of me into you, not the other way around.
But really, I mean, 2 years ago, who would have thought that was possible?
Yeah. You know what I really, really got out of that though is when you used my own words back on me, and I realized I was right.
Don't you hate when you're right? No, so it is transformative when you can take an application. I love it. Yeah. I'll let you know when I figure it out, but you should probably just start trying to like pull wires.
You might need a brain wiring diagram class for that, Dan.
it we are going to give you guys some simple steps today. Some of the things that we've used to begin to transform our minds, right? But that's kind of where I was going. It is transformative when you can take the lessons that you've been taught. You can take the things that you've been coached up on, held accountable in, and then you can turn around and you can actually actively apply them and then actively teach them, right? It's no different than training an apprentice in the service industry. We get trained up, we get taught, and then we go out. It's also how we picked up the bad habits to begin with, because a lot of the mindsets and the crappy attitudes that I had came from the generations before me. I'm not blaming just my dad. It's all the generations before. Trust me. So that stuff becomes ingrained in our DNA, and then we have to begin to work to transform that. I believe there's a verse about that. Sins of our fathers and to the fifth
Yes.
generation, blah, blah, blah. But the good news is you can stop that. You can begin
Yep.
to be
You can
that
break the
pattern
cycle.
shift. Yep.
I tried to do that with my own kids to make sure that, you know, the history of my family, and that all the stuff from the family before me, including me, didn't 100% ruin my kids. you
Right.
know, um,
They turn out pretty
so
good so far.
yeah, they did, because I tried to block a lot of that, and I have an amazing wife that just
You do.
takes
She's
all,
very
I
kind.
give her all the credit. You look at my kids and you look at me and you're like, yeah, she definitely did more in
She was
this.
the child rearing one.
Yes, she was definitely the nurturer where I wasn't.
So where did it start for you, Mike? Like what was obviously Kathy needled you a little bit, but like what did you I know where I started, but what was the foundation for you in beginning to shift your mindset? Like when you began to work on rewiring your brain, what was that
I
first?
can't say that there was any one thing. I really can't, and it's been ongoing ever since. There's always something to work on. That's the mindset that I've learned, is there's always a flaw that I have to work on. There's always something new that gets exposed, or something new that I didn't realize I had before.
You know where I
Um,
started? Being grateful. Like I just flipped that switch. I stopped
oh
complaining,
yeah,
I stopped bitching, I stopped moaning. And I just started to focus on the positive and started with gratefulness. And then the other stuff began to reveal and become clear from there. For me, that's where I started, was just being grateful. I've shared that before. The gratitude journal made a big difference for me in being able to start that
yeah.
process.
Early on, that was one definitely an area that I started focusing on first, because that's kind of foundational, and just being appreciative, and appreciating who's in your life.
Yeah.
It wasn't things as much. It's like, yeah, I'm grateful for what I have, but anybody can have what I have. Anyone can learn to obtain what I have, and obtain what I want, things like that. It's like they're just things. It's I had to shift more and focus on right relationships and the
Mm.
people in my life, because I had negative people in my life. That was the biggest thing, is the people in my life. I started filtering those people out big time. And I was like, you know what? You're not adding value to my life. You're gone. It's
Have you found it
and
hard to continue that? Like, is it hard to continue keeping the right people around you?
no, because I've learned over the years to be a pretty good judge of character, and I really look at people objectively, and I can figure people out fairly quick, in most cases. And I'm predominantly, more on the first impressions. Most of the time I'm pretty right on, right? Or the first few times that I've met them and talked to them. But so I know whether or not I can go a little deeper in that relationship. But like, I'm still like, I've always been guarded. Like, I don't let a lot of people in to my inner circle. I really don't. Like, it takes you a very long time to even get close to being in my inner circle. And I've got to really trust who's in that inner circle. And I just started learning that some people just don't add value to your life at all. So why bother having relationships with those people? Let them go tear somebody else down. Let them go sidetrack someone else. And I think that's the hardest part for me, was kind of filtering through that. Even there's been times some of my very best friends that were in that inner circle, I had to boot them to the outer circle,
Mm.
to where they're really far out there now. And some of them are even gone, and it was just having that mindset that, hey, if you're not fruitful in my life, I'm not going to be fruitful in yours, because
So
our
it's
relationship is going to be strained,
so talking about
and
fruitful. Would you agree that it's people with more of a positive outlook that you've allowed into that inner circle? I don't necessarily mean that they're eh,
yeah,
like that over the top caricature of
well,
positive,
they've
but
got balance.
yeah.
They've got more balance, because I want people in my life who are going to speak into my life and tell me the truth, that I that not and not tell me what I want to hear, tell me what I need to hear. Like,
Did you want to hear your words fed back to you in that
I
moment?
didn't. You know what? I was just thinking that is a perfect example. I did not want to hear that, and I had to finally just submit, and on that phone call, and say, "Damn it, you're right."
I didn't
And
want to hear it when you used those words on me either. There
I
was
know, but
and
it's
and I think my exact words in that moment were like, I know you're right, but I really just don't want to talk to you right now. Like, I really
yeah,
just don't want to
yeah.
hear what
You
you
didn't want to
have to
hear
say.
me.
I know you're
None of us
right.
do,
I,
and
I'm
that's a pride
acknowledging
thing.
that you are right, but I
Yeah,
do not want to hear you in this moment.
but it's a pride thing, right? None of us
Oh
really
yeah.
want to hear when we're wrong. We don't like to be corrected,
Hmm.
but it's we joked about it, we laughed about it. It was done in a gentle way, but it was like, I still didn't well hear it, because I was frustrated in the moment. But like,
Sure.
the later that day, I was like, yeah, it was totally deserved,
But I let you have that space to do that too. Like, I
Yeah.
I I kind of flipped it on you, said, like this is in love, right? Like you need to
Yeah.
hear this. Um, and then I gave you the space to work through that. And so I think that's kind of where you're going. Like you need those people in your life that are willing to challenge you in a good way, and then give you that kind of space to work through what you
Right. I
need to
mean,
work through.
you can't have people around you all the time that are like, "Oh yeah, you're great, you're amazing, you're wonderful."
Yeah.
I know I'm not.
Right.
So why do I want yes men and
Yeah.
people
You're a
like
big
that
jerk.
in my life that are just constantly uplifting?
Right.
And because I know it's not true,
There is
and
there is a need for a little bit of positivity. Like you,
well, yeah,
again,
you
like
need
there
that,
has
but
to be
like
people that
constant
build you
all the
up.
time,
Right.
it's not that way.
Right.
That's not being real with somebody, in my opinion.
Right.
It's like when we all, any of us that go to church, you walk up, see somebody, everyone's like, "Oh, how you doing?" "Oh, great."
Yeah.
That's a lie. 90% of the time, people aren't always great, but
I've just taken to being
everybody
honest.
does
So from if you've been around me lately, how are you doing? Fair to moderate.
Yeah, that's when you say, "Okay," and then you just walk away. Like, he's being
I'm being
honest.
truthful about
Yeah.
it. Fair to moderate.
For me,
Can
if
be.
you said that to me, I'd be like, "Okay, he's being honest, but I don't want to hear any of his garbage. I'm just gonna leave. Go talk to someone else."
You stuck around anyway. No,
Yeah.
but so that is an important part of that, having those people in your life and getting rid of those energy drains and those negative drains. I've had people that I've been around for a very long time that don't serve me. They
Yeah.
just they and it's where they are. You have to begin to recognize when other people's mindsets begin to affect your mindset, and that's when you have to kind of put the distance and test the things, right?
Well, I mean, as you grow, you're gonna change,
Mm-hmm.
and if people around you aren't also growing in the same way you're growing, then you're going to grow apart, and it's okay. And I think people come in and out of our lives. Some come in real close, and then they're like, I kind of look at it like the solar system. Sometimes the moon orbits the earth and it comes close, and then it goes away, and then sometimes it comes close again and then it goes away. And people are the same way. Some come in close to us and then they go away, and they orbit our life,
Mm-hmm.
and we orbit theirs. And it's okay to stay in that orbit, in that space. And sometimes you go close, sometimes you're not. And I think that's fine. But it's not everyone is going to align with where you're at any given time in your life. And that's the thing. You're going to have different people come in and out of your orbit, you know.
Yeah, there's
Um
different circles for sure. There's always different circles. And
always.
sometimes people just need to be booted into the next galaxy and just let it be, right?
Absolutely. I mean, toxic people,
Yeah.
like you're gonna have toxic people somewhere in your life. And you know what? They're gonna come in for a very short time, and then you're gonna boot them and say, you know what? I don't have the energy to deal with you. You're
And
gone.
if you don't, you will find yourself in a
Yeah.
very toxic mindset. I've been there multiple
Personally,
times.
some people, I've got other friends who are very, very nurturing. They've got a very nurturing, I guess, demeanor about them, and nature about them. And they will take on project people. And I'm like, there's no way in hell I would do what you're doing with this person, and seeing how far they go to try to help people that just don't want to be helped. And I see things a little more black and white, where they're just in a muck of gray, and they're going all in. And I've seen them do that over and over and over throughout the years with people, and it's not fruitful
I've
any
moved from
time in
black
their
and white
life.
to gray. I moved from black and white to gray. I see things in
Yeah,
shades of
but
gray
I mean,
these days.
it's do you know what I mean? It's
I do.
like they just pour into somebody so much, like almost everything they have, to the point of exhaustion and frustration, and
I've been
then
I've been through that. I There's moments that I still go through that, and you
right.
have to figure out like what begins to drain you and what begins to affect, you know, your
Yeah,
mindset.
I've been there too. I've had those. I think we have all had those relationships.
One of the things that I want to talk about before we wrap up today is limiting mindsets. You ever had a limiting mindset? Do you know what a limiting mindset is? You want to give a definition? You want me to give a def?
Absolutely. I mean, you can call it a fixed mindset, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're fixed and you don't want to move. You're not open to ideas. You know, you those types of people, they avoid challenges. They avoid acceptance of feedback.
Mm.
They give up easily. You know, they ignore criticism, constructive criticism, or take offense to it too easily.
There's
And
also a group that's kind of in the gray that just defeats themselves before they even start,
yeah,
right?
yeah, exactly. Like they're just not, like I said, they avoid challenges. They're not
Right,
open to anything.
right,
They're just so close-minded,
right.
and whether that's being threatened by others' success or threatened by their own success, like what a lot of people, I think, have the mindset that stops them in the beginning because they're afraid of what success is going to change in their lives,
Mm.
like how their lives are going to change because of success.
Or they
I
can't
think,
picture success. I was that person. I couldn't I couldn't dream. I couldn't picture what success looked like.
well,
I
yeah,
had
and it's different for everybody, right?
Yeah.
That's because if you have no vision and goals,
Hmm.
how can you picture any of it? How can you, if you can't see what you want to become and have that path and goals laid out, you can never see the future to begin with. You can't vision anything. There's no way that you can say, yeah, now I have a target to work towards. So you have no path to the future.
Some of
So
that
the
starts with
confusion just sets in.
blocking out the noise, right?
Yeah.
I just watched I Can Only Imagine again last night.
Did you?
The Mercy Me story. And watching the scenes with him and his dad is very hard. Um I lived some of that, right?
Yeah.
And that's where my dreamer went to die, right? Like, it's 9 to 5 grind, and just gonna have
Hmm.
to do nothing but work, and and he basically tells his son like, your dreams suck. There's nothing more than work. Like, get over it. Get out there and work. Like, that's all. That's what this is. And he killed his son's dreamer, right?
Yeah.
I experienced that in my own life,
I have too.
through different people, right?
Yeah.
And
I mean, a lot of those same people are not in my life anymore,
mhm,
including, you know, uh, you talk about people close to you, I'll be transparent. My mother and my brother, very,
mhm,
very toxic people in my life, for decades, and they are no longer in my life. Period. They're not in my
right.
family's life whatsoever, and it's been hard, but it's something that I knew I had to do because it was so bad that there was no way to recover a relationship there, and so I eliminated it. And things just got better, and it allowed me to make that clean break from somebody so that I could see clearly,
Mm.
right? And sometimes you need to do that with people, or whatever's giving you that fog, whatever's giving you that blindness. You kind of need to just say, you know what, I got to cut this for a little while and just test it, right? So you can break away from people for a short period of time just to see if that relationship is part of the problem, right? And then you can say, okay, you know what, I'm not in this relationship anymore for 3 months or whatever, or 6 months, and everything just so much better. And that's when the fog lifts and you can see clearly, and you're like, okay, what happened in that relationship with that individual that caused me to kind of like be so messed up?
And I've started to take the introspective perspective, right? Like what is my role in this, and
Right.
flipping that kind of script and going, okay, what mindsets are no longer serving me? What led to the downfall in that? Was it something that I allowed in? Was it something that I was projecting? What in me needs to change? Because I can't change them. I've distanced myself.
You
So
can
what do
never
I
change
need to
anybody
work
else.
on? Right. And sometimes it's just asking for help. I reached out to a
Yeah.
coach the other day. I'm like, listen, I'm just stuck. I can't get out of this loop that I'm in. I am stuck in this same thought pattern, and I know where I need to go, but I can't break the loop. I need to walk through breaking that loop. So she's been helping me work through breaking the mindset loop that I was stuck in. Right.
Yeah.
I
I
was
mean,
talking. Go ahead.
what I wanted to clear things up. When I say toxic relationship, a lot of times people think that a toxic relationship, you say, oh, I'm in a toxic relationship with, this friend. And it makes it sound like that friend is the toxic one, when it could be you,
Right.
or it could be equally both, right? You're just not a good fit for each other, in a right relationship. And I think that's what I just wanted to clear up.
Yeah. Sometimes
You got to take ownership.
it's the dynamic.
Yeah.
Um, Reach out to someone. So I think the biggest thing is start with gratitude, and that'll help you begin to change your mindset. And then from gratitude, begin to have people that can hold you accountable, in kind of changing your mindset, right? Coach,
So how do
friend.
we apply this to business with our employees,
Well,
with
listen,
coworkers, with partners,
if
you know?
if if your mindset isn't right, you are the toxic one in the environment, right? Like I went through that at my business. I was the toxic one. I had to work through my own junk in the business. So if you're looking at your business going downhill, look in the mirror first and see what things in you need to begin to change. That's why mindset is so important. It doesn't directly relate to business, but it directly relates to business. If you have a wrong mindset, if you have wrong thinking, um, and I can't define wrong for you, if you have some type of wrong thinking in your life, you will know it. You will see the fruits of that in your life, and you need to
Mhm.
begin to change those things. Accountability helps. Being in a mastermind helps. Being around a mentor helps. Any of those things can help you begin to change these mindsets that don't serve you. Pick up the phone.
Yeah. Like-minded people are you group like-minded people together,
Yeah.
for some reason that group just flourishes, right? Like, rather than someone just standing alone, that group is going to far surpass that single person standing on the outskirts, right? Because they encourage each other, they learn from each other, they push each other, and they grow together. There's an African proverb that says, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. And I've used that in conferences and keynotes and stuff that I've taught, and it is so applicable because it's true.
Mm.
And I've never seen a case where someone went and did it all alone and did it better than somebody else in a group did it. You know, um, that's why masterminds are so important, so fruitful.
And I love the accountability piece, because like-minded doesn't mean that you think the same. Um, I've worked with brothers in the community that I don't think like they think, but I'm able to care about them and have a similar directionality to them, and able to help them kind of break some mindsets or see things from a different perspective. Like-minded doesn't mean we have to agree necessarily. Just means that we're heading in the same direction, right?
There's a saying, birds of a feather flock together.
Yeah.
But you see it's so true. If you just look at nature, you don't see ducks flying with geese.
They don't like each
Hardly
other.
ever.
They don't like
Very,
each other
very
at all.
Yeah. You don't see eagles flying with sparrows. It's just different. And nature is that way. And we as humans are part of nature. And it's the way nature is designed by God. And that's always been part of his plan. So you need to get with your birds of a feather and figure out who they are, and that's who you're going to really grow with. Find out who you want to be like. Get with those people. Find a group that kind of fits that mold, and learn. People aren't going to mentor someone that doesn't have any, I guess, promising abilities. I'm not going to just mentor anyone, that wants to be mentored. I'm going to evaluate that person that wants to be mentored. And if there's no promise there, and I can see that they're going to be a waste of my time, why would I mentor them? So there's got to be some effort on the part of the mentoree as well.
Well, and I think the way that I look at that is, if they're not willing to do the work, then I can't do the work for them, right? So
Yeah.
it's not going to serve anyone if they're not willing to do the work. So, I was sharing with a brother last night who's questioning what he's doing and was shutting himself down before he even started. And I said, okay, let's just be curious. Let's have a question. And I said, what's a good deadline? A week. I can do that work in a week. Perfect. That's someone who's willing to go and actually take the steps to take and do the whole. You think my coach would work with me if I said, yeah, well, you gave me that assignment, but I'm just not going to do it? No, she'd be like, wasting my time. I'm out. Good luck. Right? So.
But why does that deadline matter? Why did you need to know that deadline?
Because I want to know if they're going to put in the work. I want to know that they're going to put in the work. I want to know when to follow up.
How are you going to know if they put in the work?
Because when we have a conversation in a week, they're either going to dodge my phone call or they're going to answer my phone call, and we're going to talk about it.
That's accountability. That's what we're talking about. Accountability matters.
My coach has me send homework to her online. Like, I send an email or I send a Google Doc, whatever. And then she verifies that I actually went and processed through the work. And then we have our sessions and we have a discussion during that time. I have to be willing to do the work. And if I'm not willing to do the work, I'm not going to get any better. And it's a mindset thing. You have to want it. You have to That's the first step, is wanting it. And then you can begin to do it. Right?
Yeah.
So,
All right. Awesome. Well,
good
let's
deal.
wrap it up real quick.
Business One Day Conference, Richmond, Virginia, December 2nd. If you weren't part of the masterminds, you're going to get a lot of that kind of stuff here, right? We have some sessions, some workshop sessions where we're going to be working together, very similar mindsets, trying to grow our businesses, all different stages of businesses. But what is the things that we need to work on in our own business? And you're going to get that at this business conference.
I'm excited for this one. This one's just going to be a mastermind all packed into one day. That's going to be amazing. And we
in
got so much
person.
great feedback in person. We got so much great feedback about our recent masterminds that we did last month that I was like, man, this makes me even more excited for the Alliance Business Conference, because it's going to be a mastermind, not the same stuff.
Right.
It's going to be different stuff than what we just did, but it's going to be similar to a mastermind, all packed in one day in person. And I think it's just going to be so much more impactful. And you can't get this. Nobody's doing anything in the way we're doing it. You know, we're doing it so different than any other conference that you could go to.
Yeah, it's not your
And
traditional setup. We kind of learned some lessons and learned the way that our
yeah,
people learn. So,
yeah, exactly. So, I mean, you can go to a whole bunch of different sessions at these conferences and learn a whole bunch of different things. And then you're missing out on a whole bunch of different things where we're just taking
we're all going to be
all this
together.
business stuff, putting it into one track, one room, and you just learn and learn and learn and learn and learn. And
And learn
then,
from each other. It does help.
yeah,
It does help
yeah,
hearing other people's experiences. It's so you're not just in an echo chamber. So, if you're over on the East Coast or the, near
Midwest.
Midwest, register servicealliancegroup.com. Join us December 2nd, and then we have a meetup afterwards. It's going to be a good time. We got a bunch of people already started to register. Well, I'll let TK and EJ share who else, if they want to share who else is coming. But we got some pretty awesome people coming alongside us and coming to learn and grow their businesses too.
Yeah,
So,
we got some of the attendees that we've seen sign up are actually, I was like, wow, they're signing up for this. They're, we got to make sure that it's good, because these are people that could teach this stuff, and it's like, man, Dan, I'm going to call you out. Santa's got a date that day. Oh, I'm going to call you out. There's no excuses. No excuses. You can have that date that night.
listen, he can,
While you're there.
when we do our next one in the Midwest, he can come to that one. Bring him on up to Chicago. He's more Midwest. He's Alabama.
Yeah.
Tennessee border. Anyway.
Ish, right on the border.
Yeah.
He's on the edge.
All right, guys. Have a good week. We will see you next time on the Morning Grind.
Have a great week, guys.